Welcome to another episode of the Growth Grit Grind podcast. I'm your DJ. I'm the owner of Speak Loud Group. We're a digital marketing and advertising agency. And this podcast is for business owners. It's for entrepreneurs that we want to, and it's for entrepreneurs, the ones that are out there that are watching and going, how do I start my business? How do I launch this thing that I have? I have a passion for business. I have a passion for making money, and I want to turn my passion into a business. And you maybe don't know the steps. You don't know the hurdles, and we want to talk about those. We want to interview different folks. We want to interview you about your business, and we want to tell you about our business and the road and the journey that we've gone down to continue to grow our business. And we have had some incredible guests. And when I tell you guys that we have some incredible folks lined up over the next 6 or 8 weeks, I'm excited to have them on there. And to tell you their stories, to tell you where they've been and where they're going and the struggles and the hurdles that they've overcome. Today, I want to talk to you about a conversation that I had recently and a training that we did recently about why small businesses, new businesses, big businesses, why they seem to fail. And I went digging and doing some research statistically. I love to back up what I'm saying with data and information and ensure that my assumptions are correct, because they are not always. When it comes to marketing and advertising, I feel like we have a pretty good handle on how all that works and best practices. But when it comes to why businesses fail, this is important to me as we continue to scale and grow our business. I'm sure it will be important to you if you are in the trenches of your business today, or if you are planning on starting your business. This is gold, and you can take some of these things and ensure that you do not run into some of these hurdles. So we're going to go down the list that I've created, and we're going to talk through them a bit, but I hope this is helpful to you. Look, if you're watching on YouTube, we'd love to have you as a subscriber. Definitely comment on the video, react to the video. If you're listening to it on one of the audio platforms, maybe Audible, Spotify, maybe you're listening to it on Apple Podcast, then absolutely leave us a rating, give us a review over there. We'd love to hear it. If you're interested in being on the podcast, comment on one of them and message us, get a hold of us, let us know that you are interested. We do have a certain parameters that we'd like to kind of vet to make sure that we get someone that is right for our audience and make sure that they can bring the right type of value to our audience. So definitely reach out to us. But I just want to say I appreciate all of you guys. I love seeing the downloads. I love seeing the listeners and the comments and things pop in. We do have a brand new Instagram, so if you want to watch some of the short form content over there, hop over to Instagram, give us a follow. It's Growth Grit Grind Podcast over on Instagram. So let's jump right in. So one of the top reasons that I kept coming across multiple places that I researched was lack of a proper plan. If you are going into business or you are growing a business, then you need to have a plan. You need to have a startup plan. You need to have a growth plan. You need to have a scale plan. And sometimes those things, as we've heard from our guest, those things shift and they change. What was your launch strategy and your launch plan will look totally different than your growth plan. And it'll look different than your scale plan. Now, you may be able to map those things out and go, we're going to go point A, point B, point C, and so on down the road. But as your business grows and certain things start happening, whether it be cash flow, employees, staff, clientele, markets, all the things can start to impact. You may get into your business and start to see a certain alley or a certain lane that this makes a whole lot more sense than what we have. Sometimes time will tell you the truth. And you will look back and go, that idea that we had, these 5 legs of our business, really only 3 of them are viable, and really 2 of them are our number one sources of income. So you may pivot to where you're focusing on those 2 lanes. Maybe you completely forget the 5th and 4th one, and then you focus on the top 3. So that's what I mean, is you have to be adaptable to what your business is telling you and what the market is telling you, but you have to have a plan. Ideally, you need to be sitting back once a quarter at a minimum and looking at where you are and where you want to go. And you need to look at obstacles. You need to look at roadblocks. You need to look at what your numbers are telling you, what your staff is telling you, what your market is telling you, and make adjustments based on that. So I would encourage you, if you are not sitting back at a minimum once a quarter, for sure yearly, you need to have kind of an end of the year. So if you're doing your quarterly, then either your last one or an additional one would be kind of your end of the year recap, and looking at what did we do last year, what were our hurdles, what were our obstacles, what constricted our growth, what helped our growth, and what do we need to do to put out those fires that are holding us back, and what do we need to do to put a spotlight on the things that are helping us grow. And that can mean a lot of different things. It could be staff, it could be services, it could be different verticals. There could be so many different things that could affect that. Only you will know that inside of your business. So sit back, and ensure that you have that plan going forward, because as seasons change in your business, so will that plan. So you want to make sure that you're ready and ahead of it and making the right decisions ahead of time. If you're just going into business, you having that structure of knowing, and when I say a plan, I don't just mean we're going to open and then we're going to go get sales. It's a great plan, but there's steps that are still involved in that. What are you going to do day one? What are you going to do in the first 30 days? What are you going to do days 30 through 90? What are you going to do going into Q2 and Q3 of your first year? You need to have those things mapped out. You need to have projections. Me personally, I like to have like a realistic projection just based on natural growth that we've seen. And then I like to see kind of a bigger goal target. On the other side is going, we want to increase by this percentage, and reasonably that is where we're going to go. But then I want to have an outlandish goal also that is there. And you may ask me why, and some people may disagree with me there. The reason is I don't want to limit myself, is that if our natural growth progression has shown that it's going to be 25% or 50% or 120%, whatever that number is, well, then I don't want that to be the only goal. Like I want us to go, yeah, that's where we're headed kind of organically. Like that's going to grow to that just naturally. Look at the previous data. Like we've grown at that rate already. I want to also go, but what do we want to shoot for? This is our goal and this is what we're going after. But what would be an astronomical goal? What would be something that our kind of wildest dreams? And that's the number we start working towards. And what we have seen in our business, that if we're working towards that massive goal, then we're going to knock the normal goal out of the park. So I like to, that's just me personally. Some people, again, may disagree. You have to decide in your business what you want to do, but that's my personal and how we structure things. So I want to have something outlandish that we're going after. But number one is lacking a proper plan. They get into a situation of growth or scaling and they don't know which way to navigate and what to do. And there's some hesitation that takes place, and hesitation can kill a business. Is that if you do not make the right plans and the right pivots and the right turns at the right times because you don't have the plan, then it can lead to things getting stagnant. It can lead to missed opportunities. It could lead to lack of staffing. Speaking of which, going into point 2 is team. And teams can look a whole lot different for different types of businesses. They could be an internal team. They could be an external team. They could be virtual assistants. They could be that you're outsourcing. Maybe you've called a company like ours and you've said, we need to up our marketing and advertising, but we don't have the budget to hire 2 or 3 marketing advertising people to be on our team. What does that look like working with you guys? And typically we're a fraction of the cost of hiring a full team internally. So people will do that. They will come outsource with us. But you need to have the right team in place. Some of the mistakes that I've seen personally from past life, previous careers, is that you want to look at people that are rock stars on your team, and those are naturally the ones that you want to promote to certain types of leadership. But sometimes that is an awful move. And I'll give you a really good example is, let's talk about sales. Sometimes, and in a lot of organizations, they will look at their top salespeople and go, those are our candidates for our sales management position or our director of sales position. And while sometimes that is true, it is not always true. Because they have the personality and the ability to do high-level sales does not mean that they are leaders. And you have to go back to the drawing board and look at what are those leadership qualities that we're looking for and who exhibits those. You may have a mid-tier salesperson. I'm going to get crazy and say that you may have a low-tier salesperson that may exhibit 10 times more leadership than your guy at the top. And a lot of times in sales roles, your highest performers in sales, they're kind of that way. They're that lone wolf that they do their own thing. They kind of go to the beat of their own drum. They just go out and make stuff happen. Whereas they don't know how to turn that information, what they do on an everyday basis, and then get that out to their team. They don't know how to explain it. They just go and do it. It just comes first nature to them. They just go knock it out of the park. They just go to work. Whereas you need someone in that role that may understand all of the concepts, but is maybe not as great at the execution side of it, but they would be a phenomenal trainer, a phenomenal coach, a phenomenal manager. So I want to encourage you that when you're looking at your team, and I can give you a personal example. When we went on the journey of, we knew one of our additions that we wanted to make was we wanted to expand our ads team. Is our agency is, while we do some organic work, most of our agency is built around paid ads, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Google PPC, some level of SEO, but obviously that's not paid. And when we knew that we needed to expand that, as we continue to market that we want to take on more ad clients, that means we have to expand the team. And to ensure that, proper planning, that we're not dropping any balls, that campaigns can go up in a reasonable amount of time, that they can be monitored like they should be monitored, and that as leadership, still able to go do the things that we need to do. And that's be involved in our community, do trainings, onboard new clients, do consultations, all of that stuff that also goes into like the leadership side, that we need executors. We need people that can sit back and make sure the work is happening in the amount of time it should be happening in. So when we started doing that, we started exploring locally, semi-locally. We started working with LinkedIn. We started looking at ZipRecruiter. We started going to all the normal platforms most people go to, and we found out very quickly a couple of different things. And some of you may attest to this: is that it's can be difficult to find good people. And when I say good people in what we do, they're highly specialized. Finding those folks that, they may say that they're a marketing and advertising expert, but then we had some tests that we started implementing. We're like, tell us what this is, tell us what that is, tell us what's wrong with this campaign, and how you would fix it. And it was astonishing the amount of people that couldn't answer what we felt like were basic tests, that for anyone that truly knew what they were doing in a Meta ad account or a YouTube account or a Google PPC account, that they couldn't answer those simple things. And some of them were very blatant mistakes that we had obviously made as examples that we wanted them to solve. And so we went back to, this was a year-long process, is that we went back to the drawing board, like, what do we do? So we started researching, are there specific, and the best way I know to describe them is like headhunter type companies that specialize in finding these type of people. And we started doing that research. We started talking to some people around us that we trust, and they started making some recommendations. Then we went to, we vetted 4 or 5 different ones, and we landed on one. It wasn't the cheapest one. It also was not the most expensive one. They essentially are paid per placement, if that makes sense. So if they help us find someone that we bring on, then there's some parameters, but then they get paid as long as they helped us find someone. And we were able to add the team members that we needed to add. It cost us a little bit more than, trying to do it on our own and, go through ZipRecruiter or anything else like that. Even though those platforms have fees, it was more expensive than that, but it immediately over a year, solved the problem that we needed to have. But it took that amount of time we actually had to take ourselves out of it a little bit. Is that I'm absolutely a person that I'll hire based on personality. I've done it within our company now. I've done it in, previous life working in the construction management field, is that I will hire based on personality. And I feel like that if they have the right personality, then I can teach them the skills. Well, in this instance, I needed the skills that it maybe wasn't. I still needed a good personality. I need someone that I can talk to and communicate with, and that will understand where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do. But I needed someone with the skills first. And then personality, I can't develop a personality for someone, but what I can do is I can teach them how I need them to interact with me. So that's exactly what we did, is we found the people with the skills, and then we honed in the personalities, and we honed in the messaging, and we honed in, how we communicate with each other and our work ethics and things like that. But your team, to me, goes actually beyond your staff. To me, team, when I think of team, I think about like boxing. Boxing, they've got 5 or 8 people in their corner, and one of them's like their coach, and one of them's like a cut man, and then one of them's like probably a hydration expert. I don't even know who's all in their corner, but they have a team of people who are in their corner. And so I think that you also need to consider that, is consider who your team is. Who are the people that you're listening to? Who are the people that you've surrounded yourself with? And a term I like to use, and I follow it every day, is I want to surround myself with people that have been where we're wanting to go, if not beyond and far beyond. Is that those are the people that I want to trust their advice and listen to them. I don't need someone that's in the same position as me, and I definitely don't need someone that's further back than we are. Is I need to be listening to people, and sometimes it's going to cost you money. Is that for you to find someone that has knowledge and has life experience and business experience that goes beyond yours, sometimes it's going to cost you some money to be able to get in the same room with them, to get on the same phone call as them, to get some of their time. And that's okay. And I would recommend that you spend it. I will continue to do it, is I trust people who have been where we're headed and where we want to go in our next steps, because they are the ones to help us get there. So that all goes into team. Number 3, cash flow. Cash flow is obviously huge for any business, startup, growth, scale, massive scale. Understanding how cash flow works. Just because you have money does not mean that you have money. And I think that as business owners, a lot of times, especially being successful, is that you are more than likely going to experience more money than you have in your previous life under like a W 2 or as a 1099 or anything else that you've done before. Ideally, if your business is proving successful, then you are going to see more cash flow coming in your direction than you've probably ever seen before. And understanding what that cash flow actually looks like. And this goes to having someone good on your team that understands money, whether you have an internal CPA bookkeeper or you have someone external CPA bookkeeper that can help you understand, like, yes, you have 50 grand sitting over here, but you also have, $48,000 in expenses that are coming due in the next 30 days. So realistically, you have $2,000 sitting over there. But as a business owner, you go, man, I got 50 G's sitting over here. I've been looking at those fancy equipment, or I've been looking at that new, company vehicle, or I've been looking at this new toy for the business because it'll help the business. And we start thinking in the terms of write-offs and all this other stuff. And we get on those crazy side of owning a business. And we're not looking at the reality side of it, is that you'd listen to your CPA and they told you got $48,000 in expenses coming due. You might have held off a little bit on the toy purchases or the extra purchases, or maybe they were legitimate and you didn't actually need them, but there would have been a better time to do that. So understanding what your cash flow is, just because the dollars and cents are in the bank does not necessarily mean they are free to go spend on whatever needs to be spent on. Realistically, it means that you need to go check that. You need to find out, is there any debt that we need to pay down? Is there something smarter than us making this decision to go out here and just blow this cash on something that may or may not be needed or necessary, or may not be needed or necessary today, or Q1 or Q2 or this year? Really looking at it and going, just because you think you want it, you think you need it, what is the reality? So you have to understand how your cash flow works. And those that don't, those that just see the dollar amount in the bank and they're not forecasting forward on what do I have coming due, what other cash flow is going to be coming in, what expenses, what all of the variables that have to do with money and owning a business. There's everything can happen in business. You can have, if you're in a business that has commissions, that you're going to owe commissions, and then you go and you see all the revenue coming in, you go, man, like we're doing really, really good. And then you go, wait a minute, we've got to write that guy a $20,000 check for all this awesome sales that he brought in. And if you're not careful, you're going to be turning around and losing employees and losing a good team member that brought you way over what you owed them in commission, but you can't pay them because you went and had fun, or you went and bought something that was necessary or needed. So make sure that you understand how cash flow works. And if you don't, then I'm going to preface this by saying you need to understand how money works. But you also can have someone trusted in your corner, is that you can have a CPA, you can have a financial planner, you can have a bookkeeper that you have in your corner that you're able to go to and go, hey, just looking at how things look. And, ideally we need to buy this new printer, this new truck, this new piece of equipment. We need to invest in marketing and advertising. What does that mean? Do we have the money to do it? Can we do it? Are we going to put ourselves in a bind if I go and spend this money? I'm thinking about investing in this training program, thinking about hiring SpeakLoud Group to come in and take over our marketing and advertising. I go ask them those questions. And again, ideally, you need to be learning from that experience. I don't like just taking their word for it. I like to know what the reasoning is behind it. Why is the answer no, or why is the answer not till next quarter? I want to be able to understand it more and more. And it's something that if you're not familiar with how your money moves and how it works in your business and outside of your business, then you need to become familiar with that. And the only way to do that is to trust the people who are around you to help explain it to you. And I don't want blanket answers. I don't want you just to say, no, that doesn't make sense. Or you've got some bills that are coming up that are large, or we've got some debt that you wanted to pay down in Q2. And remember, that's our plan, because we made our plan, step number one, and you wanted to pay some of that debt down in Q1 because we knew sales would be higher. So realistically, we either pay the debt down or you go buy the toy. So what is it going to be? And then I'm going to be encouraged by people who are strong in my corner to stick with our plan. And then, come Q2, Q3, then sure, maybe we can go buy the thing that we really felt like we needed and legitimately may have. But understanding how cash flow works and being smart with the money that's coming into your business. Number 4 is my favorite, naturally, marketing and advertising, is that so many businesses are not willing to invest in their marketing and advertising. And when I say that, if you're a small business and you're going, man, like, listen, we're knocking down 10 G's a month. I'm taking a little bit in pay because I've got to get paid. My spouse is not even taking pay from the business. We have no employees. We're just getting started. We're hoping to knock down $100,000 this year, and that's less than what we made at our W-2s. I get it. But when I say invest in marketing and advertising, it could be something small. It could be investing in a training program from someone like us. It could be investing in consulting from someone like us. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going out and paying some large retainer to have someone take over your marketing and advertising. Now, as you scale past your initial startup phase, yes, invest in marketing and advertising heavily. That you can go Google the percentages of what is recommended, but there are absolutely recommended percentages of revenue that need to go back into your business. And it is a scale, is that if you want to maintain where you are at currently, it's this percentage. If you are wanting to grow by X percentage, then you need to invest this percentage. If you're trying to scale by this percentage, you need to be investing this percentage. You can go Google those numbers. I've given them before. You can go find out for yourself. And every industry is a little bit different, but for the most part, it's pretty blanket. So you need to be investing in marketing and advertising. If you are not continuing to push your brand out and your offering and the things that you do into your community and beyond there, at some point, someone else is going to. So you need to keep that in mind. And I don't care what it is that you do. You could be in manufacturing, you could be in auto sales, you could be in personal home services, you could be personal trainers, it could be a gym, it could be literally anything. There will come a day, may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but there will come a day that you have competition and that they are going to figure out a way to invest in marketing and advertising, and you're going to see a dip. And you're going to look back and go, what in the world? Why are our clientele leaving? Or why are we not getting the callbacks or the referrals that we used to get? It's because you're not investing in marketing and advertising. You're not staying top of mind with your target audience. So, of course, if that's something you need help with, give us a call. We'd love to chat with you. But obviously not the purpose of the podcast is that I want to give you these things. You may have someone that has already been reaching out to you in the marketing and advertising space. And you may have looked at it and went, man, $500 a month, $1,200 a month, $3,000 a month, whatever they're offering you, and go, I like that money, and maybe you're in a position where you can completely afford it, but you like to have it in your pocket. I hear it. Like, trust me, we're in a business too, and I have to invest in marketing and advertising. And I would much rather that money go back into my bank. But I also know that we have goals. Go back to our plan, because we have a plan that we're trying to work towards, and we have a team that is behind us that is working on that plan for us. And we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our team to continue to grow and to continue to do things to help our growth, make sure it happens. So that was a funny way to say that, but hey, it still came out. But we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our team that if we have all devised this plan of here's our growth plan and our scale plan, it comes with certain measurables and it comes with certain expenses that we're going to have to be willing to invest, which sure, maybe it means my bottom line is a little less at the end of the year. Okay. But what does that mean in 3 years or 5 years or 12 or 20? It means really, really good things. And ideally, I better be able to stomach it now, while that number is probably a whole lot lower than it will be in 10 years. Because in 10 years, if we're still continuing down our scale path, that number is going to continue to grow. So I might as well get used to a certain percentage right now and build it into my business, build it into my cash flow, build it into my team's mind, and put it in our plan. So that way we're good to go, because the number is going to get bigger. Next is adaption. And I feel like, and there's so many examples I could use for adaption, but just to recap, lack of proper plan, lack of a great team, cash flow problems, marketing and advertising. Now we're on adaption. Adaption, I feel like if COVID taught us anything as business owners, it taught us that adaption is key. And I want to use specifically kind of the restaurant and hospitality space, is that there were a lot of businesses, a lot of great businesses, a lot of great people that lost their businesses and went out of business during COVID. And I don't want to blame it completely on adaption. There were some that were already kind of barely hanging on, already a small enough business that it was just kind of getting by, and they were, had a reasonable income and had a decent life. But they came upon COVID and it wound up it was the final blow. But for some, you saw lots, and I want to use a simple example, but I hope it translates, is that you had a lot of these businesses that, let's use restaurants in particular. We're based here in Texas. So you had these restaurants that for a certain period of time, like they closed the doors and they went, people can't come in, they can't buy our food, they can't sit in our restaurant. We have employees that can't come in and work, can't make tips off of serving tables. What do we do? And there were so many of them that as fast as they could, and our state, in my opinion, did a pretty good job of opening up certain parameters like drinks to go and things like that. But they started opening these avenues to where we can still do our best to be safe and keep people from getting sick or keeping exposure down or whatever the parameters were back then. And there was a lot of them, we all know. And that's not the piece of COVID that I want to remember, but you saw this adaptation that took place of we're going to start. We immediately pivoted. We went back to our online team or our marketing team. And we said, look, we want to push that. We are open and we're open for like delivery and we're open for pickup. And you saw a lot of it was community too. As you saw the community that were like, we've got to go support these guys. Like we understand what they're going through and we want to do our best to try to support them. So like we still got to eat and we still like going out to eat. Well, we can't really go out, but we could still go support that business and go pick it up. And there were so many other examples that adapted. I know like in the construction and home service space that were deemed, essential in most places, they adapted to what they did. They bought certain types of equipment. They bought certain types of, protection for themselves and for homeowners. If they were going to be in and out of homes, they adapted to where we've got to find a way to continue to conduct business, even if it is on a reduced scale. And I think that's what a lot of the restaurants saw is I guarantee you most of their sales were probably down, but they were able to float and they were able to get through the highest peak of the pandemic, and they were able to keep most of their staff on the payroll and however that worked. It was an adaptation time. Is that the ones that sat back and went, this is it. There's nothing that we can do. We're screwed. We're just gonna have to close down. And they went into it. And I really don't want to sound unsympathetic because I think there were some that were genuinely in that position. Like we don't have the resources to go make this happen, to do deliveries or to do pickups, or, it's not going to be enough money to pay our rent. Even if we did half of what we used to do in restaurant, there's no way we're going to be able to pay our rent on this building or pay our mortgage on this building. So I think there were some very genuine cases, but I think there were absolutely some that got stuck in they didn't know how to adapt. They didn't know how to pivot and go, how else can we deliver our services? How else can we deliver our goods, our food, our hospitality, our customer service? How else can we deliver this outside of our normal traditional means? And so I think, and anything can happen. Is obviously I use COVID as an example, but it could be an economic downturn. It could be, let's look at the real estate market. It could be real estate rates. They climbed like crazy, but you know what? I still saw realtors working. And I still saw them out there adapting to that market and getting creative. And I saw them getting creative with financing options and getting creative with different loan types. Is that you have to be able to adapt. Is number one, you can't look at a situation and go, well, that's it. I throw my hands up. There's nothing I can do. Look at what it did to me. Is that I give everyone their a few seconds. And we talked about this on an early episode is like, you get your like 30 seconds as a business owner to, go cry in a corner and scream into a pillow or have all the emotions you want to have, get angry, get mad, get sad. But then that 30 seconds has to end and you have to go, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do? Like we have to have a plan. We have to go back to our team. We have to look at cash flow, all the steps we just talked through, but we have to adapt. Whatever that situation is, we have to adapt because things are going to happen. Just like they do in life, they will happen in business. You will have trucks go down. You will have employees quit. You will have the economy will affect your business. A pandemic might affect your business. Let's cross our fingers and knock on wood that it doesn't, but reality is something will happen. Outside forces can impact your business, but you have to be willing to kind of turn that corner and you have to be willing to have a pivot moment of like, okay, whiteboard, like literally. And I know businesses, I know some of these stories that they were up for 36 hours straight with their team in an office with a whiteboard and mapping out how in the world are we going to do this? And they found a way because they had enough strength. Honestly, strength and grit is the name of our podcast. They had enough grind in them to sit back and go, we love our business and we love our people. We love our community. We love what we've built and we're not willing to give it up. So we're going to find a way to make this work. And I know some of you sitting out there going like, I did that and it still didn't work. I have sympathy for you. I genuinely do. I know that it was not an easy thing that we went through, especially for small businesses, but think into the future. If you're in a new business now, or those of you that are listening that are just getting started or down the road, you're going to have these situations, maybe not to the extreme of COVID, but you're going to have these situations that happen and you have to be able and you have the ability to adapt and to pivot. And I think that to me, it goes back to your team, honestly, is, having that team around you that you can lean on, even if it's an external team of coaches, mentors, but you can lean on them of like, what can we do? Sometimes we have to get out of our own headspace and allow other people to help us. Those are the top five. Those are the top five that I came up with, and those were repeated across a bunch of different research that I did. I want to give you two quick ones, and then we're going to close this thing out. These are a couple of bonus ones. Number one, customer service. This is a bonus tip, is that if you do not have your customer service honed in, it can kill your business. If you are not staying on top of that process, and if it is not you and it's employees that are handling that process, then you need to 100% hone that in. When you hear of negative feedback or negative reviews, then you need to be willing to jump on that, and you need to be willing to close that bridge and close that gap and make that experience right, because enough bad reviews will kill your business. Enough bad apples on your team will kill your business. So you have to be willing, and sometimes it's hard conversations. Sometimes it's hard conversations of having with staff, it's having even with customers, of figuring out how do we solve this problem. Sometimes it's not the decision that you want to make, but at the end of the day, customer service or lack thereof can and will kill your business. Especially if you're a local based business, is that way. And I've seen it time and time again here locally and even, regionally, is that it can absolutely have an impact on your business. So you need to ensure that customer service is at the top of your priority list, that it not only resonates with you, but it resonates down through your team. Number two, and this is the last tip, and then we're going to close out, is overexpansion. Is that business owners, us naturally as entrepreneurs, we're the visionaries, we're the dreamers, and that's why I think every single one of us need a solid integrator on our right-hand side. Mine is my wife, that goes, pause. What are the implications of the idea that you have? How much does it cost? Is it a distraction? What does it really mean? How are you going to make revenue doing it? All the things. She makes me pause, and she makes me think about my ideas. As most CEOs, entrepreneurs, very type A, they are going to think every possible different direction of, we can make money doing this, and we can do this, and we can do that, especially as your business continues to grow and you go, we need to find some other avenues, some other lanes. And what if we did this? And what if we did that? Sometimes you got to sit back and focus on, I talked about going back to your cash flow and even your plan and going, what are our top 3 sources of revenue? We have like 8 legs of business that we have. 5 of them don't produce anything or very little, but we're still dumping advertising and marketing dollars into it. We still have expenses on that side. If we were to shift and focus all of our attention, all of our energy on the 3, how much could we increase the sales on that side where we're already making the lion's share of our money? Is going into other markets, being like, well, we've done well here and we're doing 500 grand a year out of that office. And all we got to do is go open one a couple hundred miles from here. And we're going to do 500 grand out of that office too. We've already got the blueprint. We've already got the strategy. I'm not saying don't grow. I'm saying you got to be smart. Is that I think all of this goes back to the other things. If you don't have a proper plan and you don't have the team to execute it, and you don't have the cash flow to do it, and you're not willing to invest in the marketing and advertising, you're going to have a problem going into a brand new market and expanding from day one if you don't have those things in place. If you have those things in place, I'm all for it. Go open a new location, get started, get more team members in there, and continue growing your business. I'm a huge fan of that. Maybe you're franchising it. I don't know what your plans are. But overexpanding too rapidly and trying to have too many lanes and too many focuses that you're focused on can affect your overall business. You have your baby in the background that is your cash cow that is generating revenue and paying your staff and generating you a decent living, but then you want to go off into left field. And what if this? And what about this shiny new thing over here? You have to be careful. You have to be careful that you stay true to the focus of what your business is and what is generating the revenue and how do we continue to grow that thing. And then as that thing is growing, and I don't want to call it autopilot because but it can be, as that business is growing organically and growing naturally and your team is helping you now grow it, then yes, can some of your attention come over here and go, what are some other pockets or verticals that we're kind of missing with what we do? You can focus on it at that point. But I think you just got to be careful, especially early on in the beginning, and looking at your cash flow, looking at your team and your plan going forward. So if those things are not in place, overexpanding too rapidly, too quickly can absolutely hurt you. Guys, that's it. 32 minutes, almost 33 minutes. It was a little bit quicker of a podcast today, but I did want to get this out. It's something that we're looking at all of these things inside of our business. We've had this conversation over the past few weeks with several other businesses about their growth plan and growing their team and how that all, integrates with marketing and advertising and how we can help them grow their team and then grow their cash flow. All these different conversations. So I know it's a topic that is going to be important to all of us that are entrepreneurs, business owners, and even those of us that are, just getting started and wanting to start a business. So take these, run with them. Again, I'm not an expert on all the things. I know a little bit about a little bit, and I want to make sure that I can share that information. And I try to do my best to back what I'm telling you up with research. And so that's exactly what I did. So I hope this was helpful, and we will see you guys in the next one. We will have a guest next week, and I'm excited to bring them to you. And we've got guests the next several weeks, so I'm excited to bring those to you too. So again, thank you guys for following. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for watching. Thank you for all of the messages, comments, the followers, subscribers on the different platforms. As always, we're on every major podcast platform. If you want to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, if you want to listen to us on Spotify, obviously the video version is over on YouTube. We post shorts on YouTube. We also post short form content on TikTok as well as Instagram. So any of those platforms that you're on and you want to go check out, we'd love to have you there. And we'll see you guys next time.